Hello, my name is Stephen Colson. I'm the vicar of St Mark's Church, Kennington. 6 years ago this month, we entered into a partnership with Christians Against Poverty, CAP, who are based in Bradford. What an extraordinarily wonderful organisation. The partnership between a local church like ours and CAP, with all their staff in Bradford, is a unique partnership. Together, we come alongside people who are struggling with financial difficulties, with debt. There's no easy answers. We're not able to give them a bucket load of money, but in partnership with those working in the Bradford offices, we're able to support people and encourage them. And what a delight it is when someone gets to that point where they're told, your debts are paid. All the little bits and pieces that you owed are now finished. And we share in their joy, a sense of liberation. It changes somebody's life. I'm delighted that today we can broadcast an extraordinary interview. There was a lady who approached CAP and was directed to us at St Mark's Kennington, was helped first of all by John Thompson, who was our debt centre manager at the time, and then Cherie, who you'll meet, took over. And together, through John, through Cherie, through the people in Bradford, Cassandra came out of debt. We are extraordinarily touched by her honesty, her frankness, her joy, for simply sharing her story. Cassandra, thank you for your openness. Thank you for this extraordinary testimony, which we're going to hear. The last few weeks have been tricky for Cherie and Cassandra because I haven't actually been able to meet physically. It's been done by phone, by other means, and this interview is remarkable because there's a great friendship between them. There's a great joy and laughter, and yet it was conducted, as you'll see, by Zoom. Cassandra, Cherie, over to you, and may everyone watching be encouraged. If there's anyone who's watching who is in debt, then listen to what Cassandra would advise you to do.
So, hi Cassandra, how are you?
I'm all right, my darling. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. It's finally nice to put a face to the name after all this time.
I know. Does my face actually match my voice? Is the question.
Yes, it does.
It does.
It does.
It's really weird if my voice is really high pitched and squeaky like this one day.
But what we're here today to do is to talk about your journey through CAP, and I know you was working with John, my predecessor. So what I'm going to do, I've sent you the questions, so we're just going to roll through the questions. Feel free to add more if anything comes up that you'd like to add.
You won't get me off. I talk a lot.
So my first question is, how did you hear about CAP?
So a few years ago, somebody I know was actually a client of CAP's. At the time, I was using a different debt payment agency or organisation, who, funny enough, they used to charge for their services, so they'd charge an admin fee. But at the time, I was pretty comfortable with them. You know, I was doing my thing, plodding along. So it was always in the back of my mind that I'd heard about this great organisation where she'd managed to save money and all this, that, and the other. And it went in, sort of resonated a little bit, and then forgot about it. So that's how I heard about CAP. Do you want me to elaborate on how I got to use CAP?
So tell us, so tell us about your story and what led you to contacting CAP.
So, like I said, I'd been using a debt payment agency before, and you know the admin fee was quite extortionate, to be fair, and my debt just never ever seemed to be coming down to a workable sort of amount. And then it transpired that I became a single parent quite suddenly. And the extra maintenance payments that I was getting from my ex-partner suddenly stopped. So where we've been on a family holiday, I've taken them away, you know, quite secure in the idea that I've got money, I work, you know, I can cover bills with this money, and then a huge chunk of my income just disappeared quite unexpectedly where he'd moved to a different country. So I found myself treading water, basically, money-wise. And, you know, stealing from Peter to pay Paul, and, you know, the usual scenario, and credit cards and overdrafts, and things just started to slowly spiral out of control. So it sort of got to the point where I looked in the cupboard and there was no food. There was no food. And it was a toss up between getting petrol, because I needed petrol to get the kids to where there to get to, or feeding the cat because she had no food, or putting electric gas on. Those should not be my choices, you know. And I just had a payment come out of my bank account for this other payment agency, and I just knew that extortionate amount of money wasn't going to put a dent in, you know, in my debt, and also it wasn't helping me in my current situation. So I called HAP just to get some advice, and got speaking to someone. They said they'll get someone to call me back. So they said they'll get someone to call me back, and that's how John called me back. And yeah, he was fantastic. He was like, he told me where he was located, which wasn't too far from me.
Yeah.
And I told him my situation. I was sobbing down the phone because I felt so wretched. I work full time, always have done. You know, I've always maintained my home and my kids and a car, and quite an independent, feisty chick, me. so finding out that, you know, I've got into a situation where I literally couldn't feed my cat, or, you know, get gas in the car or something, it hit home how hard it was. And John offered to send me, and did send me, a voucher to go to forget the
food bank.
The food bank. Sorry, I was going to say soup kitchen. I did not mean soup kitchen. I meant food bank. And, you know, when it came, when the voucher came, it came within a couple of days. And when it came, man, I cried. I cried for so many different reasons. I cried because I couldn't believe that it had got to this. You know, I cried because, oh my gosh, I'm able to feed myself and the kids and whatnot. So that little change, that little £4, I can actually pull it in the car. You know what I mean? It was humbling. I cried because it was really humbling, because for all the flashing cash when we got out partying or stuff like that, well, where was my money now? You know what I mean? Where was my money now? And I was, you know, also it was a bit, I felt like I'd let myself and my profession down because of where I work, and, you know, working for the NHS, and I've been working for the NHS for years, and I felt a bit like, how am I working and still needing food bank, you know? So yeah, that was my first sort of dealings with CAP, calling them, because I just didn't want to pay the extortionate amount of admin fees I was paying in the last one. And also I could have changed any time, but familiarity. I was very familiar, very safe with these people just taking my money every month, because I knew that they were paying off some debts, you know. But, you know, yeah, it's like changing your energy supplier. Yes. You have to commit to it and look at the pros and cons and go, basically. So yeah.
So when you had your first appointment with John, and he explained the CAP system to you, what was that feeling like for you? What was going through your mind?
Well, the first thing I thought is when he came, you know, we spoke first, we'd made an appointment, and he said to me, basically, we had a conversation about leading up to, remember he sent me the voucher as well, so we'd had a conversation before, but then he told me exactly what he needed me to have for him for when he came to my home, which he gave me a couple of weeks to get everything together. Now, if you're there, one of the things I don't like looking at is paperwork. Yeah, you see, if you're anything like me, you tend to skim. You just tend to look at what the final figure is. You tend to skim all the other information because it's too much. It's too much information overload, especially if you're already feeling anxious about your, already. So what he, that conversation, when he told me I needed to find everything for him, that was wage slips, bank statements, you know, anybody I owed money to, everything I could think of, insurance, everything. I had to get all this paperwork, which means for the first time in probably a good couple of years, I actually literally had to look at and face my actual debt, what the actual amount was, not second guess it or, you know, hazard it. I literally had to face it all and have a quick calculation, you know, and the shock was immense. So when he first came to my home on time, I may add, you know, like he just had this very calming aura about him. When he first, you know, you're inviting someone into your home, you know, you're obviously feeling a bit nervous and a bit anxious because you're finally making that step to clear them debts. And at that point, you cannot see an end of that very, 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 very dark tunnel. You can't see it. You know, it's all consuming and all overwhelming. So, when he came, he prayed with me. He actually asked me, is it all right if I pray? I was like, yeah, go ahead. You know, I need some comfort in my life, you know? And he prayed with me, and then we went through, basically, he explained what that was. He had the pack with him. He took his time. We went through everything. I mean, everything. He took his time. I think he was at my home a good couple hours, you know, and we just sat at my table, and, you know, he asked me, I can't even remember all the questions he answered. All I remember is that I felt very comfortable speaking to him, but I cried the whole time. Like, I literally, by the time he left, I looked like a bit of a wrung out rag. My eyes were blotchy and my face was puffy and my nose was swollen, but I actually felt calm. I felt literally like, I purged myself of all the worry and all the stress. And that was in the 2 hours or whatever length of time it was of him just going through everything, explaining everything, explaining how, you know, telling me that I was going to actually have savings. And I was like, what are you talking about? How is that possible? How is it possible I'm going to pay my debts and save money? That I couldn't understand it. I couldn't understand it. And he broke it down in such simple terms that I was like, are you for real? Let's sign me up. Let's do this, you know? And then he went away, you know, so he took all my paperwork away, said he'll go through it properly, you know, and why do people want to ring me at the wrong time? Sorry. So yeah, he took the paperwork. My first disappointment was obviously when they looked into it, I was in a lot more debt than I thought. Now I haven't even considered any CCJs that had been put on. I hadn't considered any upcoming bills, because obviously bills are still ongoing. I hadn't considered any of that, and obviously things take a little longer than 2 weeks to sort out and set up and everything else, you know. So we agreed on a start date for me. You know, I wasn't pressurized to start straight away. In fact, I wasn't pressurized to start at all. I was given the choice and the options to take the time, and, you know, if it was something I wanted to do, the amount I wanted to pay, the length of time over the period I wanted to pay. And it just felt, and the fact that CAP wasn't going to be taking anything from me in order to fund itself. And that was, to me, that was such an amazing selling point, because it showed me genuinely that it was a charitable organization to help people. Because I don't know how you can take money from people in order to help them if they're already in debt. It didn't make any, you know, so, and that's what I've been doing for a long time. So yeah, it was, he just brought this air of calm and organization, because when you're in debt, you feel very disorganized.
Yeah.
When you're in debt, your brain is, it's not functioning because you're so worried. You're not really taking in what is your situation and how to sort it out. So just having that responsibility taken from me, but knowing that I was helping myself,
Mm-hmm.
that it was everything I was paying was coming from me. That gave me, and even to this day, gives me a huge sense of pride. You know what I mean? So yeah.
So you're now in the point of your journey where you've gone through the 3 stages. You've got your CAP plan is working out. You're paying in everything. You've got your budget that you're living on. Tell us a little bit how that was feeling, because it's a whole new way of being now.
Oh my goodness! Right. Okay. That was hard because I'd chosen to pay my debts off over the shortest amount of time possible.
Okay.
Which meant I paid a lot more in than I could have done, and that meant that I was literally living hand to mouth for the 2-year period that I'd set up my payments. So yeah, it first of all, doing that taught me that I squandered money.
Mm-hmm.
I squandered money on unnecessary stuff. I could have stuff in the freezer and still go shopping. Well, why don't I just eat the stuff that's already in the freezer? We bought it, we should eat it. Going out, it became hard at times. I'm a very sociable person, and it became hard not being able to pay my way, on a big night out, or avoiding it, or not being able to go to weddings that were abroad and stuff like that. I had to look at my priorities and make those decisions for myself. So it was very difficult. The first 8 months was horrible. I'll be real. The first 8 months, because I was paying a lot of money, and I got so used to not paying bills properly and having extra money that when obviously when all your bills are being paid, and that is all the money you have, that is it. You have to make that last, plus pay for school dinners and everything else, and outgoing still. Yeah, that was hard, very hard. And I think if you're going to pay big amounts, you need to factor in what that you'll still have outgoings. I had all my options and I chose that path, but still, I think it would only be fair to be honest about how the reality of, oh my gosh, that is all the money I've got. Because everything else is already distributed.
Yeah.
Yeah, it becomes a bit of reality. But then after a little while, that shock turns to a bit of pride.
That's what I was going to ask you. Did you feel that sense of pride because now you're taking ownership of that part of your life?
Yes, I never ever wanted to become one of the bankrupt clan. I never ever wanted to do that. I have never, because I think that would hinder me a lot more than just paying off my debts. And obviously, I'm also because I'm very responsible in the fact that if I spent it, if I've done it, if I've used it, then I should pay for it. That's honestly, I could have gone bankrupt. I looked into it before. I looked into it a couple of times, and all these other different ways of paying half of it and not paying half of it, and having it on your record for how many years, and all. I looked into all of that, and I didn't want it for myself. I thought, if I can just live within my means and pay this off, then I'll actually feel free. Because it's a burden when you're in debt. It's a burden. It's a heavy weight you carry around. It's a knot in your stomach that's always there. You know what I mean? So, yeah, paying off my debts myself, the sense of pride, the sense of achievement you know, and I'll tell anybody who would listen to me about it as well, you know, especially when it started to become a lot easier.
Yeah.
Especially after the first year, because I was in the plan for 2 years. So after the first year, that milestone, I'm like, oh my gosh, that went so quickly. I've only got another 12 months left, you know, and then that's when it becomes a countdown. That's when it becomes a countdown. That's when I knew that every 24th of every month when I got paid, I knew that Kat was taking that money on the 24th. You know, so to me, just counting the months, every payday was just a step closer to me paying off my debts.
Yeah.
So it became the last couple of months. It was like, oh my goodness, yeah.
So you're coming towards the end of your countdown, and then John leaves, and you get an email from me saying, "Hi, I'm your new debt advisor." What was going through your mind when you got that email of introduction?
Well, I didn't know John had left. I didn't know John had left, and I was a bit gutted at the time, because I actually tried to contact him. So I got an email from you, I think around about September, October, and I actually tried to contact John directly in the July, August, because I knew that my payments, you know, like obviously I've got the I didn't get confirmation until a bit later on, but I knew that August I would have paid off my debts. And I remember messaging him, which turns out to be now your phone. And I remember messaging him and like thinking, I can't get hold of it. And I was actually quite gutted, because I wanted him to see that I'd done it, that I didn't quit, that I hadn't missed one payment, that, you know, that I'd actually reached that goal to. Yeah, I wanted him to be one of the first people to know, and I couldn't get hold of him, so I was a bit gutted, if truth be told, you know. And then I got an email from yourself, or a call from yourself. I was like, all right, Cherie, how's it going? But yeah, I didn't know he'd gone.
Yeah.
Bit of a surprise when I found out. Yeah.
And then I invited you on John's recommendation, because I had come in. So during the time when you couldn't get through, we had closed because we was doing the changeover in managers. So I didn't know any of the old clients. So I said to John, well, John, you know, Discovery Break's coming up. Would you like to recommend any of your previous clients so that I can put them through? And he recommended you. So I'm just like, okay. So I looked into your file and I was like, she's almost, you know, coming up to the end, I think it was, of your CAP plan. So I thought, right, let me get in there, because I think it was like a first come, first serve sort of thing. So I had to get your name in and everything. So once I've sent that invitation out to you and said, would you like to go away for all expenses paid weekend? What was that like?
Well, I was at work, because you guys had my work email, and I was at work, and I was like, I couldn't believe it, because like I said, I knew that I literally just finished paying my debts. And I got the, you know, you've paid your debts, and would you like a holiday email? And I was like, huh? This is fantastic. This is what? I'm getting rewarded for paying off my debt. This is fantastic. Like, you know, but that was such a lovely, lovely, lovely email. I was telling everyone at work about it, because like I said, I received it at work. And I rang my kids straight away, and I was like, do you want to go? And they were like, yes. So we hadn't been anywhere. Like I said, you know, we live in hand to mouth. You know, a trip to the park with some some sandwiches wrapped up and stuff became the norm for a good day out or something, because we had to live within our means, you know. And so just being able to get out of the house or out of the area, you know, the three of us, but my twins, as much as it's been my journey, my twins were every step of the way with me on that. Every step. In fact, I became the eBay queen in order to keep them comfortable in clothing and, you know, stuff like that. You know, I learned how to bid because you know, you're saving money so much. So, you know, the trip to Ashburton House, absolutely one of the loveliest places I've ever been in my life. You know, beautiful grounds. but so gratefully received, because we could actually acknowledge, yeah, it is over. This is almost like a reward, you know, for the family, for, you know, for sticking by me, and obviously putting up with the situation as it was as well. And yeah, it was a lovely, best surprise actually. Yeah.
So glad that you would enjoyed it.
Oh, and can I also mention, can I, if it's all right, mention the Christmas hamper as well?
We're coming to that.
Oh, okay.
So after you've had your trip, so then now that letter and that email comes to confirm you are now debt free. Did you get that phone call? Did you get the whistles and the shouting in the head office?
I did get the whistle. I had to tell everyone in my office to shut up so I could hear it. But it was because I got it when I was at work. But it was one of the things that I'd been looking forward to in that 24 months, because that's one of the things you're told in your initial meeting. When they go through the pamphlet and the booklets with you, and they say, you know, you get your phone call and everybody celebrates, and you know, and I wanted that, because that is your goal. That's when you know you've done, innit? So yeah, that was brilliant actually. And I was waiting for it, the anticipation for that phone call with all the whistles. I was waiting for it. 2 years I waited for that. It was gratefully received. It really was.
So congratulations.
Thank you.
I'm so glad that we could be part of that journey with you. And like you mentioned, the Christmas hampers. So tell us a little bit about what happened.
Wow. Okay. So the first time I received the hamper, obviously at Christmas time. So I'd been in the CAP plan at that point 3 months, and sitting at home, absolutely, you know, worrying about Christmas, obviously, and how this would be the first Christmas where I literally had hardly any money at all. And my twins' birthday's on Boxing Day. So as you can imagine, Christmas is at a very expensive time. So, you know, I'd already resigned myself to, this was what it's going to be. And I got a knock at the door out of the blue. And a young lady was stood there with this box in her hand. And, no, this is from the CAP plan, say Merry Christmas. And one of my kids actually went to the door and retrieved it. So they come back in and like, Mum, this lady's just dropped off a box. I don't think they realised at the time what CAP was, even though they knew I was paying my debt. And then I saw the card and opened it, and there was all these goodies inside and presents, me and the twins all wrapped up inside. And oh my gosh, that was one of the most humbling. I was humbled. I can't say the words. I was humbled. I was blessed. I felt so grateful, you know, especially when you looked inside and it had all the necessities to get through a day, like it had tea and coffee, and it had all that, you know, lovely hamper stuff. But the gifts, it was the gifts. You know, my children, you know, mentioned there was one for the boy, one for the girl. So someone obviously taken time, you know, to look at who we were and what we might need and what our situation was. And yeah, that was such a beautiful gesture, and it's one that was repeated again, you know, so it's not like, yeah, it's just fantastic. I thought I've never been treated by an organisation in the way, it was like being part of a family.
Yeah,
that's what I think. And this is why when it all was said and done, one of the first things I said to you was that I wanted to do something to give back. You know what I mean? Because it is like having a family that has looked after you. And I liken it to teaching a baby how to walk.
Okay.
That's how I liken it to, because I was stumbling all over the place. I literally had no firm footing on where I was going money-wise. And it was affecting every aspect of my life, my health. You know, stress made my hair fall out. You know, my weight fluctuated up and down. You know, I started to drink probably more because I was stressed and just to get to sleep. You know, yeah. So I liken it, like I said, to teaching a baby how to walk. And I was floundering, and I just had that. First of all, it was John's guiding hand. And then he sort of let the organisation take over. And every time I rang up, anytime I needed any advice, I had the best service. The best service. Yeah, the best service. And you never felt awkward ringing them up, even if you wanted to dip into your savings and stuff. It was like, hiya, you know, and they'd be so friendly and helpful, and it was just lovely. It's like literally like having a family.
So for someone listening who's looking for that support to help them deal with their debt, what would be your message to them?
Go for it. Go for it. First of all, you'll be able to sleep. After that initial phone call and that initial maybe making that appointment for someone's come, you'll be able to sleep. Probably for the first time in a long time, soundly. And that was my initial, the first sort of thing I felt was relief. And it just made me feel exhausted because I didn't realize how much I'd been holding in and how much worry and how much stress and I slept a lot. So very, very well. I'd advise people to just, you don't even need to worry about calling anyone, your debtors or anything. That's all taken from you, all that stress, all that anxiety, all that worry, and then you've got that calming Christian part of it, the Christian, whether you're Christian or not, that outpouring of love and that outpouring of genuine care and affection for each and every one of us. Remember, CAP are not with us 24/7. They're not with us. They're not preaching at us either. They're not telling us, oh, you must go to church, or you must do this, or you must do that. But that if you've got a hint of Christianity and you'll understand what I'm saying, that love, that outpouring of just genuine love and care for your fellow man to help them get through a troubling time in their life is what I got from CAP each and every time that I use their service, whether it be by telephone, in person, doing this, one of the best organisations this country has got by far, and I don't think it's advertised well enough. I've definitely advocated for it on Facebook. Anybody will listen, especially when I paid my debts. I put a massive post up about CAP, and then I had people asking me about it. I was sending them the links. Yeah, it's one of the best things I've ever done, and not that I ever plan to get in debt again, but I know where my first stop would be. Absolutely know where my first stop would be, and I know that I'd succeed. CAP is like finding the best diet in the world that makes you look fabulous, and it's so easy. Yeah, it's like that.
On that note, Cassandra, thank you so much for taking place in this interview.
You're welcome, my darling. I'm glad to have done it. I'm proud to have done it. I hope anyone who's listening to me waffle on actually genuinely sees how genuine I am about how much better it's made my life and the life of my twins. We can live. We started to live again. And enjoy stuff. And I still save, by the way. I love you know. Okay, I love you know. For the first time in years, I've actually got money saved in an account. So how about that?
Congratulations. We'll talk to you again soon.
All right, my darling. Thank you very much. Take care. Bye-bye. Bye.